Hello everyone, welcome back to this channel. From today onwards, we will start this course Intro to Programming, and this is in Kaggle Learn. If you click the Learn section on this Kaggle website, you will find many courses. Now I have selected this one. I will explain all the tutorials, then I will do the exercise for you. Okay, but before you start the course, let me tell you that this is a super easy course because it is for the beginners, for them who have no idea about any languages or programming. Okay, so every task will be very simple. So let's start. Okay, now first let me click this one, arithmetic and variables. Welcome to the course. This course is for them who have not written a single line of code. That's what I have already told you. You will learn how to use code to get a computer to perform certain tasks for you, like how you can instruct the computer. Okay, that is our main job to learn. The basics we will learn. This is best for the beginners. Okay, now first is printing. One of the simplest tasks you can say computer to do is print a message. You can tell the computer that please print something in the screen. What to print? Anything. You can write hello world, you can write my name is, anything you want to print, you have to call the print function. What is this print function? Print function is already written in the Python library. Whenever you write this code, you just call that function and it is printed. Function you have not studied, so you will not understand. For right now, you just understand that if you want to print anything, you have to write print, then you have to give the brackets, and within the quotation, you can write whatever you want to print. Okay. So let's read. In Python, we ask a computer to print a message for us by writing print. Exactly. And putting the message inside the parentheses enclosed in quotation mark. See, enclosed in quotation mark. Below we ask the computer to print the message hello world. Okay, so hello world is printed. Now the code inside the box is known as code cell. This is the code cell where you have to write the code and run the code. And the computer's response. This is the computer's response. This is called the output of the code. Okay. So whatever the computer is giving you is known as the output of the code. Okay, and where you are writing is the code cell. As you can see, computer printed the message that we wanted. Okay, now let's next one. This one we have printed. But what if we want to add something for doing any arithmetic like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division? That also we can do. So for in next instance, in the next code cell, the computer adds 2 and 1. I want to add two numbers, 1 and 2, and print the result. Okay. Note that unlike when we are simply printing the text, we don't use any quotation mark. While printing the text, we will use the quotation mark. Why? That you will understand with time. But what we are doing right now, just focus on that. For printing text, you want a quotation. But for printing numbers, you have to write print 1 plus 2. That is print 3. So 3 will be printed. For doing subtraction, 9 minus 5. Okay. So you can actually do a lot of calculation. You can add, you can minus, subtract, you can multiply, you can divide, and you can do exponentiation. 3 to the power square, 3 to the power cube. Okay. So you can control the order of operations in long calculations with parentheses. So you can control the order of operations also. Like when you do the math, you know that first parentheses will work, then division, then multiplication. We follow a rule called Bodmer's rule. Okay, same thing you can instruct the computer also. That whenever I provide this, how computer will perform? It will first add which are in the parentheses. After that, it will divide. Then it will multiply. Okay, so in this way, it will calculate. Okay. Now, in general, Python follows PEMDAS rule. If you want, you just click this and read that in which order the operations are performed. Okay, this is the rule. Parentheses, exponentiation, multiply or divide. Okay, then addition or subtraction. Now we use comments to annotate what code is doing. Suppose I have written the code, but I want you to read my code. So sometimes you will not be able to understand the code. So if I write something for you, like a note, then you will be understand that what I wanted to perform. Here I multiplied 3 into 2. And also I have told you that I have multiplied 3 into 2. Okay. So I am giving an instruction for the reader, but I also have to tell the computer that please don't execute this line. Please don't create this as a code. So for that, I put hashtag in front of the code. Okay. Then computer will think that this is not a code, this is a comment. And the reader will understand what the programmer wanted to do. Clear? Now they help other people to understand your code, right? And they can also be helpful if you have not looked at your own code in a while. So far, maybe you are also watching it after a long time. So you also may forget. People tend to forget. Okay. So far, the code that we have written is very short, but annotations become more important when you have written a lot of code. When you are writing some difficult codings, then you will be able to understand the importance. Here, you may think that this is easy, but while you are doing every programs, their coding, their annotations are very important. Okay. Now, for instance, in the next code cell, we multiply 3 by 2. We also comment multiply 3 by 2 above the code to describe what the code is doing. We have understood this. Now, to indicate to Python that a line is a comment, you need to give a hashtag sign, pound sign, as very first character. Once Python sees the sign and recognizes that the line is a comment, it is completely ignored by the computer. Okay, it will just ignore because it will understand that this is a comment, this is a description for someone else, not for me. This is not a code at all. This is important because just like English or Hindi, Python is a language with very strict rules that need to be followed. Python is stricter than a human listener, though, and will just error if it can't understand the code. We can see an example of this in the code cell below. Python errors, if we remove the pound sign, if we remove the hashtag sign, then what will happen? It will show like this, syntax error. Because Python will think that this is a code. Python will not understand that this is a comment. So it will give a syntax error. Syntax error means the way you write is called a syntax. So there is a problem with the syntax. Okay. You understood how we can print anything, any text, how we can do any multiplication, and what are the types of multiplication we can do using Python. Okay. Next is variables. So far you have used code to make a calculation and print the result. But the result is not saved. Once you are done, the result is deleted. So you want to save your result, you want to keep it somewhere. So you can imagine that you might want to save the result to work with it later. For this you need variables. Now how to create variables? The next code cell creates a variable named test underscore var and assigns it to the value that we get when we add 5 to 4. When I am adding 4 plus 5, this is added to some variable. So 4 plus 5, 9, test underscore var. This is the variable name. There it will be stored as 9. You can give any name. You can give A, you can give B, any name you can create. There are some rules for creating a variable. But for now, just understand you can give a name and there you can store the output. So what happens? Suppose you want to add something else with this variable, with this result, or you want to perform any kind of operations later, or you want to see what was the output later. So for that you use this variable. Okay. This is for storing. Here you are storing it. Okay. So now if you write print and you pass the variable name, then output will be printed. Okay. Now in general, to work with a variable, you need to begin by selecting the name you want to use. Variable names are ideally short and descriptive. You use something so that anybody can understand what is its purpose. Okay. And there are some rules. They can't have spaces, like you can write paste space where it is not allowed. It will show you error. It can include numbers, it can include letters, it can also include underscores. Okay. But if you use the special symbol, special characters like this or ampersand or hash or anything which is a special character, those are not allowed. Okay. And they have to start with a letter or with underscore. You can start with a letter or you can start with a underscore. But if you write in this way, this is not allowed. So there are some rules when you declare the variables. But I hope you have understood that this is a kind of memory you create so that you can use it later on. And you have to remember these rules. You won't get the error. Okay. Now then to create the variable, you need to use this sign, equal sign. That means keep the value inside this variable. Okay. You can always take a look at the value assigned to the variable by using print. If you use the print function, then you will be able to see the variable and putting the name of the variable in the parenthesis. That's what we did. We just put the variable name in the parenthesis of print, then you will be able to see this. Over time, you will learn how to select good names and it's completely fine to feel uncomfortable. Okay. But I hope you are comfortable. Manipulating variables. You can always change the value assigned to a variable by overriding the previous value. Suppose here I have created a variable, my underscore var, and I have kept in the value 3. I have printed, so it will print 3. Now, can I replace this? Yes, I can. I can replace it as many times as I want. Okay, and with anything I want. So I have written 100. So now it will be replaced. Now 3 is deleted and my underscore var is holding the value 100. Okay, it's like suppose you think that you have a box and in the box you have first put the red ball. Later, what you did, you just removed the red ball and you put an yellow ball. It's like the same. 3 was the red ball, first you kept, then you removed, then you have again kept a different ball. Okay, now you have printed this. So in one line we can say that It can hold any value. You can replace it with any other value. Okay, it's not that it is created, that means it is fixed. Okay, you have put the red ball, that means only the red ball will be there. Nothing like that. Okay, next, note that in general, whenever you define a variable in the code cell, all of the code cells that follow also have access to the variable. For instance, we use the next code cell to access the values myvar and testvar from earlier in this tutorial. See, here I have kept 100 and previously we kept 9 in the test underscore variable. So here they have just printed to show you that, see, they have stored their values. Okay. And you can access them. You can use them in any way you want to use. The next code tells Python to increase the value by 3. You just add the value by 3. To do this, we still need to use my underscore var equal to like before. And also, just like before, the new value you want to assign to the variable is right of the hash sign. Okay. Now next is using multiple variables. It's common for code to use multiple variables. This is because whenever you will write a code, you have to do so many operations. So you have to keep them in a variable. So that's why you may need multiple variables in a single program. This is especially useful when you have to do a long calculation with multiple inputs. In the next code cell, we calculate the number of seconds in 4 years. See, here I have taken 5 inputs. Number of years, 4. Per days per year, 365 days per year. How many hours per day? 24. Minutes per hour? 60. Seconds per minute? 60. Now I want to calculate number of seconds in 4 years. So I want to know that in 4 years, it is how many number of seconds. So for that, what we have to do? We have to multiply all these things. You have to multiply 4 into 365 into 24 into 60 into 60. Then you will get the total seconds in 4 years. This is a simple example. See here, to create a variable, they have put a comment. For putting comment, you have to provide this sign. Then Python will treat this as a comment. It will not show any error. Then you have given variable names and you have assigned them by using assignment operator, or we can say equals to sign. Okay, fine. After that, you have performed some calculation. You have performed multiplications. Okay, so here what happens? It it says that what is stored in this variable, it fetches that, it multiplies, then it keeps the result into this variable. Okay, now you have printed this. I hope this is completely clear to you. Okay, whatever the output is. So note, it is possible to do this calculation without variables as just, but it is much harder to check. It's like that you can calculate in this way also. But it is much harder to check that the calculation without variables does not have some error because it is not as readable. If you calculate in this way without variables, it will not provide any error. But don't you think that this is much readable? Seconds per minute, minutes per hour, hours per day, days per year, number of years. You can understand now what you are exactly doing. But here it's a bit vague, so it increases the readability as well. Okay. Now when we use variables, we can keep better track of each part of the calculation. Fine. Note that it is particularly useful to use variables when the values of the inputs can change. Obviously, it can change also. I told you that you can keep anything for to assign anything to any variable. For instance, say we want to slightly improve our estimate by updating the value of number of days in a year from 365 to 365.25. Due to any reason, I just change it. So, suppose for leap year, you have 366 days. So, what do? You just add it with 0.25. You are calculating for 4 years. Whatever the logic is, my aim is that I want to change slightly. So, now you can just change it here, 365 into 0.25, and there you just keep the code same. So, it is so easy for you, right? Otherwise, you have to change it into here. Okay, so you understand how uh, readability increases with using the variables. Okay, now you might have noticed that point 0 added at the end of the number, which might look unnecessary. This is caused by the fact that in the second calculation, we used a number with fractional part, whereas the first calculation multiplied just numbers with no fractional part. Okay, the same thing. In second, it has multiplied with fraction, 0.25, and they are without any fraction. Okay, so these are different kind of data types. It's like one is integer, one is float, and there are many other kind of data types that we are going to learn later. Fine, for now you can ignore. Next one is debugging. One common error when working with variables is to accidentally introduce typos. Obviously, you can write something here like days per year, where you may have missed the s while typing mistake. That can happen. So when that time What Python will do? Python will not understand. Python will think that what is this day underscore par underscore year? That is not assigned here. So it will generate some error. It will say that what is this? I don't know this. Tell me what is this. So how will it tell? By generating the name error. It will say that this name, I don't know this name. I don't know this person. Who is this? Okay, it's like that. So for instance, if we spell hours per day as hours underscore par underscore dy, like A has been missed. So Python will say that it is not defined. Okay. So you may get this one. Name error, it is not defined. When you say name error, so it's an indication you understand that I have made a typing mistake. Where mistake, that is also shown hours per day. So instantly you will go here and you will check what you have typed and what you have assigned. There are some differences. There are some typing mistakes. That's why Python is showing like that. Okay, fine. So to fix this error, you need to correct the spelling. Okay, then this one is done. Arithmetic and variables. Let's revise these things. First, we have understood how to print a text. Then, how to do the calculations. Different type of calculations we can perform. How to give comments by giving hash sign. Then we understand what is a variable. Why do we need a variable? And how to name a variable. What are the steps you have to remember? Sorry, what are the requirements, or I can say that what are the conditions for creating a variable name. Then we have understood how to manipulate variables, how to change their values, how to print them, how to add, subtract, or do any kind of operations on a variable, and how to use multiple variables in a single program. And if there is any kind of error, debugging error, then how to solve this problem. Okay, we have learned many things. Now, next, your turn to practice. Let's see what is in the practice set. Okay. This is an exercise provided by the Kaggle exercise platform. Here you can run the things. First, you have to set up the notebook. You don't need to understand this right now. This is right now required so that we can work on this notebook. Okay, they have done this. Our job starts from here. Question 1. Next, you will run some code from the tutorial so that, so that you can see how it works in yourself. Okay, fine. Run the next code cell without changes. Now, you tell me if I run this one, print hello world, what will be the output? Hello world will be printed. You know this already. You have successfully printed a message. If you want, you can write something else also. If I want, I can print this one. Okay. Here you can practice. These are the code cell. And whatever it is here, showing here, this is the output. Print is for printing. We are printing string, sorry, we are printing text here. So we are using, we are keeping this in quotations. Okay, clear. We have revised what we have learned. Now next, question 2. Now you will print another message of your choosing. Print your message here. So there they have provided these things. If you want, you can just write and run this. You just write good morning. I'll copy, I'll paste. But I suggest you that you try to print something. Okay. You think of something quote or anything. Okay. Whatever you want to do about yourself, anything you write and you try to print this. Okay. Then question 3. You have learned that you need a hash symbol, pound sign for telling Python to ignore the text for commenting out. Okay. Now hashtag print 1 plus 2. That means this one will not be treated as a code. Okay. Or we can say uh, this is a comment. See here, like you can see that q3 dot hint, q3 dot solution. Here they have provided hash. So if you just remove this one, then if you run, then you can check. Like hint means they will provide you some hint. Solution means they will provide the solution if you can't do it by yourself. And check means once you have written, you can check whether you have done it correct or not. Okay, these are simply they provide you so that you can do the self assessment. And whenever you want to see the output, you have to remove the pound sign. Then you can uncomment this. Okay, fine. Now our question 4. In this tutorial, you have defined several variables. The same one, num years, days per year, hours per day, minutes, seconds. Fine. Now calculate total number of seconds in a year. Total number of seconds in a year, run the next code cell to do the calculation. They have written the code. They told you that just run it. Okay. This one we have learned while reading that. Fine. Now use the next code cell. 2. They have given a task to you. Define a variable bars per minute and set it to 250. Okay. So this is the variable name. Bar per minute in per minute 250 bars. Okay. 250 babies are born each minute. Wow. Now next, define a variable bars per day that contains the average number of babies born each day. Now to set the value of this variable, you should use bar per minute and some of the variables from the previous code cell. They have told you that take the help of this one also. So tell me, if there are 250 babies born each minute, then per day how many babies are born? You can write birth per min into what will be the variable here. Per day means per minute into hours per day. So you just have to copy this and write it here. Okay. Bars per minute into hours per day into minute per hour. Okay. Now what happens? Hours per day in a day 24 hours into minute per hours in 1 hour 60 minutes and in every minute 250 watts. Now if I run this, I will get the output. I have not printed. If you want, just write print and inside this you have to write per day. Now see. Okay, this is the output. Here you can see that I have not given the quotation because I am not printing bar per day. I am printing whatever the value is inside the variable. This is a variable, right? This is a variable name. So here I have stored the value. I have stored the output. So I am printing the value inside this variable. Okay. Now if I uncomment this, you can get the hint and you can get the solutions. Okay, fine. Next one is question 5. Will be a little bit more challenging than others. Okay, no problem. The Titanic competition is Kaggle's most famous data science competition. Kaggle competition, Titanic. Titanic is about the Titanic ship, which about that ship there are so many information about the Titanic data set, and you have to predict that whether someone will die or will survive. Okay. Anyway, that is a famous one. But run the next code cell without changes to load and preview the Titanic data. See what happens here. They have imported some libraries and they are importing a data set. This is the way you have to write or import. If you have not read about this library, then you will not be able to understand. If you But this is just uploading a data set. What is a data set? Data set which contains data. Here, the data set contains data about Titanic. Now, let me show it to you. See, this is a data set. This is in tabular form. There are rows and columns. Passenger ID survived, whether it has survived or not. P class means passenger class, name, sex, age, sibling, spouse, ticket, fare, cabin, and from where they have started their journey. This is simply about all those passengers who traveled via Titanic. Okay, so what it is done here by using some Python library, they have just downloaded that data set about Titanic. See, okay. Now on this, they can do different kind of machine learning operations, EDA also. Anyway, let's see. The data has a different row for each passenger. You can see that different passenger ID. Total equal to total number of passengers who boarded the ship. Survived equal to number of passengers who survived. Minors equal to how many passengers were under the age of 18. Minors. Okay, now run the code cell without changes. Don't worry about the details of how these variables are calculated for now. You can learn about how to calculate these values in Pandas course. Oh, first let me run this. You will not understand these things for now if you have no idea. Just see that you can this way calculate how many people have survived, how many people are under the age of 18. All these things you can do by coding. Okay. Now they have told you that calculate the values for two variables. Survived underscore fraction should be set to fraction of passenger who survived the Titanic disaster. Minors underscore fraction should be the fraction of passengers who were minors under the age of 18. For each variable, your answer should be a number between 0 and 1. If you need a hint or view the solution, then you can skip and then uncomment this. Like, say, I'll show you this first. Hint, sorry, solution. Now see, you have to just calculate this way. Just said, what will be the survived fraction? So you can tell survived is calculated from here. You just ignore the part and think that you have total number of people. You have how many people have survived and how many people are minors. Okay. Other than these things, you just ignore for now because you don't know pandas. Okay. Now, suppose I want to calculate how much people have survived. So, in simple maths, you just have to write survived by total. Okay. Total 891, survived 342. Okay. Next one, minors fraction. Same. So, what I can write? Minor divided by total. That's what is done here also. See, minors divided by total. Okay. Just make sure that you are not doing the typing mistake. Then what kind of error will be generated? Name error. Name is not defined. Okay. Okay. So you have got it. Just don't worry about how it is calculated. You will learn that later. Just imagine that you have total number of passengers, you have survived passengers, you have minor passengers, and then you are just told to calculate how to find the survived fraction. Okay. So just let me run this once. You can see the output. 38% has survived, 12% was minor. Fine. Now what is bonus exercise? Then keep going. You have finished this exercise. Now you are ready to do how to organize your code with functions. Okay, so we have finished this one. I hope you have enjoyed the session. Let me know your feedback via comments. And if you appreciate my effort, please subscribe to this channel. Thank you. Meet in our next video. Bye. Happy learning.